everybody, and welcome back to Sketch to See. Today I'm introducing a new series to our entire channel. This is our personal construction update series. I'm really excited to share this with you because it's been a long time coming. In this series, I will take you through how we got to where we are today. The whole construction process is not going to be covered in this episode, but you will find out the length of the vessel that we're building now. And yes, my regular series of videos is still going to continue. I'm still going to produce regular content. This is simply just another aspect of the channel. There's also one more aspect that will be coming up shortly, and that's the interviews with professionals aspect of the channel. But I am getting ahead of myself. So the first contact that I made on the path that we're on right now was made June 6th of 2018. That's when I sent out a whole bunch of feelers to different manufacturers to try and collect as much information as possible about different yachts that are available, different build times, and most importantly, pricing. If you haven't already, now would be a good time to go back and check out episode number 3, The Players Involved. That's how I found our manufacturer, HH Catamarans, and our naval architect, Morelli & Melvin Engineering. So once we made contact with these various firms, and they realized that we were serious, a lot of back and forth ensued afterwards. This consisted of lots of phone calls, a few emails, and several drawings being circulated. These drawings were the preliminary exterior renderings and the rough GA to make sure that we could get all of the accommodation and items that we wanted inside of our vessel. Once the three of us, the client, the naval architect, and the manufacturer, settled on a rough exterior layout and a general arrangement, it was time to have the feasibility study done. As it turned out, lucky for us, this project was within our budget range, so it's time to get started. Mind you, actually getting started meant even more back and forth just to nail down the exact items that were supposed to be contained within our specification sheet. This back and forth continued all the way into December 2018. We still haven't signed a contract at this point yet. But in November of 2018, my wife and I booked a ticket to the yard in Xiamen, China, and went for a factory tour. At this factory tour, we were able to touch some of the samples that they wanted to use within our yacht, and we were able to tour another yacht that they had that was just being packed for shipping. After 4 days at the HH factory, the administration finally had enough information in order to prepare the contract documents that we required. These contract documents are actually a whole nother episode itself that will be released in the next few weeks. Everything finally came together February 10th, 2019. I remember being home and opening that bottle of champagne when the executed contract came through, signed by the manufacturer. We wired out the initial deposit, and now we entered the refinement process of the build schedule. In April of 2019, we flew from our home in Grand Cayman all the way to Newport Beach, California, to Morelli & Melvin Naval Architecture. We spent 4 intensive days in their offices going through the 3D model of our yacht. We identified some of the rigging issues, some of the workflow issues, and really just tried to identify how we were going to use the yacht ourselves. As our yacht is a new model range for HH Catamarans, we had to wait from February until April for this to happen. It took that long for the 3D hull lines to be drawn in order for us to actually review the 3D model. This is important because it gives you the exterior limitations of your hulls. It gives you the square footage of your wing deck and your flybridge if you have one. The reason we need these exterior confines to be so precise at the time is because we have already agreed on a specification sheet, which means we now need to take all of those items within the spec sheet and still have an adequate workflow around these items that the yacht is functional and spacious and comfortable. We went through this yacht in so much detail that we actually had to make sure that my wife, who is 5'2", was able to sit at the dining room table and could see out the windows and not just see the toe kick on the outside. This minor detail seems kind of like a given, but everybody at Morelli & Melvin is 6 feet tall, including myself. My wife is 5'2", and without actually sitting her down at the dining room table and then measuring 15 degrees up and down, we had no idea if she would be able to actually see the horizon. That also meant basically anybody shorter than me sitting at that table likely would not be able to see the horizon. Actual physical construction of our hull molds did not actually commence until July 2019. It took from April to July to do the weight study, which made sure the yacht would sit flat in the water, because once the hull lines have been fully produced, you no longer have the possibility to adjust the trim of your vessel. So now that Morelli and Melvin have released the hull lines to the manufacturer in China, they finally had something to physically start constructing. This was extremely exciting. So here we are. Welcome to the Morelli and Melvin designed HH77. Their flagship, HH7701. We were really excited to start playing around with this design, and we were so happy and content that we had finally got everything that we wanted. Or so we thought. Next, I'm going to tell you what happened basically between July and December. As this is a new model range, we have to build the mold just to construct the hulls. In order to do this, hundreds of plywood panels were cut. A whole steel frame was cut, fabricated, and welded together just to hold these plywood panels in place. These plywood panels were assembled like a jigsaw puzzle, except this jigsaw puzzle comes with instructions. Each one of these processes took a couple of weeks to complete. So once Morelli and Melvin had sent the hull lines to HH for manufacturing, it took 2 to 3 weeks for their computer systems at the factory to translate these drawings into something that the CNC machines could cut. Then it took another few weeks to design the actual steel cradle that was fabricated and welded together just to hold these panels. Then it took another few weeks for that steel cradle to be assembled. And then another few weeks for all these plywood panels to be assembled within the steel cradle. And then another few weeks on top of that for that entire mold section to be lined with plywood. This CNC machine alone takes 2.5 weeks just to make sure that this entire hull side is perfect within 1 millimeter from end to end. Those CNC machines have basically been running 24 hours a day for 6 to 8 weeks straight, just to keep producing materials. It's definitely worth noting that this isn't exactly a linear process. Multiple parts are being completed in different areas of the factory at the same time, in addition to Morelli and Melvin continuing to work on drawings and HH administration continuing to source materials, whether that be plywood, glue, carbon fiber, gel coat, whatever it may be. Morelli and Melvin is hard at work continuously because as soon as one part in the manufacturing process is actually fabricated, they need to have the next set of drawings, so none of their equipment and none of their factory is left idle. Leaving any of this equipment idle for any extended period of time could lead to a construction delay for us. Remember earlier in this episode when I said we flew to California in April? Well, during those meetings, a whole bunch of areas within our yacht were identified that we didn't exactly know if they were going to function and work out the way that we intended to use them. As the owners, we were left with some pretty heavy decisions to make after that meeting. In June 2019, we signed a small contract amendment that we thought addressed all of those issues that were identified in the April meetings. Wow, were we wrong. But you'll just have to stay tuned to construction update number 2 to see exactly what happened, what were these issues, and where did we go with them. As usual, thanks for watching. Love to hear any comments that you have below. And please, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share. One click from you goes a long way for us. And if you're not already following us on Instagram or Facebook, please do, Sketch2See. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at sketch2see@gmail.com. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Hole number 77.